Welcome. This is the second installment of a three-part series on the application of soft logic to engineering, procurement, and construction projects in the oil and gas industry. The objective of soft logic is to simplify your schedule. So the operative words here are less is more. What we're trying to do is take a lot of extraneous data that might otherwise be on the schedule and take it off schedule and control it in something more appropriate like a spreadsheet or a database. Now, why we do this, of course, is just because of the complexity involved. We want to take any of those repetitive activities, drawing production, issuing the PO, or installing bulk systems, pipe, whatever. We want to take them off schedule and watch them in a venue more appropriate. And for the most part, that will be spreadsheets. But in procurement, I find a database to be particularly effective, especially if you're able to have access to something like a SharePoint site where you can move or where you can have access to your engineers' material requisition forms, your expediters, status sheets, your purchasing status reports. Then a database seems to work really well for retrieving that data and keeping it all in one place. However, with all elements in soft logic, remember everything has to be tracked. Just because we're not putting it on the schedule does not mean we don't want to know where it is. So what we want to do with our schedule, though, is keep it simple. Something, if you saw the previous installment on engineering, a couple things will appear to be different here. The first of which, there's no resource loading. I find that tracking progress in procurement is best done on the units process. They don't keep time cards according to what piece of equipment they're working on, and so you would never be able to run an earned value system in procurement. Now, another thing I find is that unlike the drawing logs, in which there seems to be some idea of how long it's going to take to do a particular drawing, I haven't found that the buyers and the expediters really have a strong grasp of how long it's going to take to process a single piece of equipment. And part of that is because the vendors are the greatest variable there. They don't really know how long it's going to take a vendor to get the drawings back or to respond to an RFQ or an IFP. And so what we find is that our reporting is more reactive than proactive, meaning we generally report what has happened, not what will happen. Because of this, we find that our schedule forecasting is fairly limited in procurement. We're not blind, but we don't have quite the horizon that we might have in engineering or in construction. So let me show you how I would work the application of soft logic in procurement. This is what I think procurement would look like under soft logic. In this particular case, it's a 3-building, 3-unit, 3-area with approximately 7 crafts. Procurement. And what we're going to focus, as you can see, it's fairly simple. This is both procurement, purchasing, and expediting. And we can get that almost all on one sheet. And my green is my percent complete for that particular activity. You might ask now, where do these durations come from? How did I establish this duration at this point in time? And what we're going to do to show you that, I'm going to focus here on this particular one here, which is purchase building module. That happens to be 3.1.7 in my WBS. So what we do then is we go, in this particular case, to the 3.1.7, and by using the minimum of the MR received, which kicks off all of procurement, purchasing, and the maximum of the PO issue date planned. It gives me this this range, and so it's the 4th of February, the 8th of August. So we have the 6th of February and the 8th of August. Assumption here is that the 6th of February is the closest Monday. Just do that as a what standard form for me. So that's where that comes from, and the 37 is the number of POs that will be issued for that particular WBS. And if we look over here, we're going to use non-labor units, and that's 37. And going back again to our power pivot on our status, this just shows you how it's done for all of the WBS accounts. And I have 5 steps here that I'm going through. Each step is weighted equally, which is probably not realistic, but you will want to sit down with your buyer or your expediter and decide what relative weights you want to give these. Obviously they have to add up to 1, but these are my rules of credit. And it's a 20% for each one of these steps. And in this, overall, I'm saying that we're about 28%, but overall doesn't do me any good. What I want to look at here is my particular case here, which is the module there for building A. And I have 37 POs, and I show giving my rules of credit. These are the various steps that have been completed for each one of those. So I show a total of 24 equivalent POs have been issued, for a total of 65%. And that's what we have, 24 and 65%. That, in essence, is what you get with soft logic. The nice thing about it is, again, in the database, I have what I call here is a link table manager, what they call is link table manager. These are all of my source documents. The MR here would be, I could have several of these from several different engineers. The PO, I assume the purchasing status report is going to be maintained in total. Same with the expediting material delivery sheets. I assume that that'll be a single account. But it allows me, and I'm assuming these are all out somewhere like on a SharePoint site, so I can go out and select them. And I now have the latest information for which now I can populate my Power Pivot to get the latest information. So I would just do this for each one of the activities, and I would just put in my percent completes every time I ran this. Then, looking over my schedule, I look and see how we're doing on any one particular element. One example here is this purchase instrumentation. I would kind of want to know what's going on there. We apparently have some problems. And I know that I have a problem here with my pumps, because what we did is we changed the spec on this, and that threw everything off. So the engineers had to go back, and actually I believe it went all the way back to process. Process had to come up with some new materials for construction, and that is going to be a problem. And we know that, and this will be the workaround, but it's representing kind of what we know is the case. Again, this is soft logic for procurement. I think you'll find it a handy tool to have, and it's difficult for me to imagine you controlling procurement in any other way. I hope this helps, and please take a look at the soft logic for construction. I think you'll find that all equally helpful.